Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Tuesday the 30th of October 2018. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me on Twitter throughout the day by using @ds_Pepperstone. Right, let's take a look at the overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. Perhaps of most note, the lack of movement really in both the euro and the pound sterling against the US dollar. And when you consider what was going on in yesterday, that's quite surprising. But what we have seen very clearly is pushback from both the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar against their US counterpart. The Aussie dollar adding 0.49% in yesterday's session, and the New Zealand dollar adding a creditable 0.43% against the US dollar yesterday. The Japanese yen, however, moving in the opposite direction, weakening against the US currency, down by 0.28% to trade at 112.68 shortly before we recorded the video. The Indian rupee was also losing ground, down by another 0.26% against the dollar, as was the South African rand, which fell by a similar amount, or 0.24% against the US currency. Dollar index for its part trading at 96.68 shortly before we recorded the video, gains of around 0.1% over the last 24 hours. Okay then, what's on the calendar? Events that may move the markets today. We've already had some building permits data out of Australia and a speech from the RBA Assistant Governor Bullock. The building data much improved from last month's 9.1% fall, a 3.3% increase in building permits, and so that was ahead of forecast and, as I say, much better than the prior read. To come at 8 AM GMT, we'll have leading indicators out of Switzerland for the month of October, and that'll be followed at 8:55 by German unemployment rates for the month of October. At 9 AM we'll have gross domestic product for the third quarter out of Italy, and that'll be followed an hour later by the GDP for Q3 out of the wider Eurozone, and accompanied by the business climate data for October for the Eurozone as well. So a real chance to look at how the European economy is performing. At 1300 we'll have the influential S&P Case-Shiller Home Price Index data for August out of the States, and that'll be accompanied by Consumer Price Index and Harmonized Index of Consumer Prices data for October out of Germany. And then we take a decent break until 19:30 this evening, when the Bank of Canada Governor Poloz will be speaking. And to round off the day at 21:45, we shall have building permits data out of New Zealand for the month of September. Okay then, well, breaking news and comment that's caught my eye overnight. And first of all, Angela Merkel has resigned as head of her party, the CDU, and says she will not contest the 2021 elections in Germany. But the question is, can she survive as Chancellor of the country until then? And my own impression would be probably not, but we shall see. Meanwhile, Japanese unemployment has fallen to 2.3% in September, and that's a new 4-month low for the country. Asian equities have rallied despite the sell-off in US stocks yesterday, and they were led by Chinese stocks that bounced on talk of new stimulus measures from Beijing and an easing of rules around securities trading. And meanwhile, the White House has warned of a comprehensive trade war with China should the current trade negotiations with the country fail. So two sort of conflicting stories there from China, and probably both worth watching and keeping a close eye on. Right then, food for thought, something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. And why not think about this? UK Chancellor Philip Hammond announced the last budget before Brexit yesterday. Normally cautious, the UK Finance Minister was upbeat about the growth prospects for the UK, upgrading his own figures from earlier this year. However, both the pound sterling and UK gilts, that's government bonds, did not rally, and I suspect that was based on the lack of any further clarity on the Brexit process. Here are the new figures for 2019 out to 2023, and if you compare these to data from organisations like the OECD, the Chancellor has been somewhat more bullish on the outlook for the UK. Of course, as we've just noted, so much will depend on the nature and timing of the UK's exit from the European Union. Right, please take a moment to read the risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks or the suitability of leverage products for you, then please do contact your Pepperstone account representative. And please do take a moment to read this risk warning thoroughly. Thank you for your time.